Did you know Israel wasn't just a nation, it was a family? 12 tribes, 12 sons, each with a name, a destiny, and a legacy written into the foundation of history. But what happened to them? Why did some disappear? And why do their names still echo in prophecy today? In this video, we'll uncover the origin, rise, and mystery of the 12 tribes of Israel, and what their story means for us now. Stay with us. You're about to discover a part of the Bible most people overlook, but never forget once they hear it. In the heart of the desert, surrounded by promises and trials, a nation unlike any other was born. It wasn't forged by swords, but by an eternal covenant. It was the people of Israel, 12 sons, 12 names, each with their own story, their blessing, and their struggle. From the lineage of a man named Jacob, God would form the tribes that carried his presence into the world. They walked among empires, crossed seas, faced wars, and received laws straight from heaven. Their stories shaped the faith of billions to this day. But before they were a united people, they were distinct families. Each tribe had its role, its territory, and its identity given by God. This is the journey of the 12 tribes of Israel, a story of promise, rebellion, redemption, and hope. Long before there were 12 tribes, there was a man. His name was Jacob. Jacob was born into a world of promise and conflict. The son of Isaac and the grandson of Abraham, he inherited a divine promise that his descendants would become a great nation, bless all the families of the earth, and dwell in a land God had prepared. But Jacob, unlike his brother Esau, was cunning and ambitious. From the womb he struggled, and over time his story would be marked by deception, escape, and supernatural encounters. 5. Prompts d'imagem ultra-realistic. But Jacob, unlike his brother Esau, was cunning and ambitious. From the womb he struggled, and over time his story would be marked by deception, escape, and supernatural encounters. 5. Prompts d'imagem ultra-realistic. From that man came 12 sons, 12 names, 12 destinies. Each would give rise to a tribe, and together they would form God's chosen people. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. Their individual stories shaped the spiritual and historical identity of Israel. Joseph, for example, was sold as a slave by his brothers, but became a ruler in Egypt. In a time of famine, he saved his family, bringing them to the land of Goshen. There, the 12 families grew and flourished, until, in time, they were enslaved. For 400 years, Jacob's descendants remained in Egypt. But God did not forget his covenant. He raised up a deliverer, Moses. And when the appointed time came, God called his people out. From that exodus, the tribes would become more than families. They would become a nation. They would receive laws, land, and a divine mission. The 12 tribes of Israel were not born in glory, but in struggle. They came from an imperfect man with an eternal calling. And it was this blend, human weakness paired with divine purpose, that shaped the identity of Israel. After centuries of silence and oppression in Egypt, God shattered time's hold and raised up a deliverer, Moses. With signs, plagues, and divine judgment, the Lord confronted Pharaoh. And when Egypt cried under the weight of the final plague, the children of Israel left, not as fugitives, but as a nation born in a single night. In the wilderness, the 12 sons of Jacob were no longer just names. They were tribes, distinct but united. They gathered around the divine presence, revealed as a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night. There, at Mount Sinai, God sealed their identity. He didn't just bring them out of Egypt to free them. He brought them out to form them into a holy nation, a kingdom of priests. At Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, the law, and detailed instructions for the tabernacle, a sacred space where the Creator would dwell among his people. Each tribe was assigned roles. The Levites would guard what was holy, while others were assigned to warfare, shepherding, or harvesting. But the human heart was still weak. While Moses was on the mountain with God, the people below crafted a golden calf. Tribes that had seen the power of the Almighty bowed to an idol of their own making. Yet even then, God, full of mercy, renewed the covenant. Sin had consequences, but his promise endured. For 40 years, the Israelites wandered in the wilderness. Tribe by tribe, they camped around the tabernacle, their banners raised in the wind. Every position was strategic. Every name carried purpose. Every journey was led by God. The desert was their spiritual classroom. And though they faced rebellion, complaints, and constant testing, God fed them, led them, and disciplined them. The generation that walked out of Egypt died in the wilderness. But a new generation, born in the dust of the desert, was rising, their mission to enter and possess the promised land. After 40 years in the wilderness, the children of Israel stood once again on the threshold of destiny. Moses, now old, stood atop Mount Nebo and looked across the Jordan River into the land of Canaan, the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he would not enter. His time had ended. It was now Joshua, Moses' successor, who would lead the tribes into the land of promise. Under Joshua's leadership, the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, not by boats or bridges, but through a miracle. As soon as the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant touched the water, the river stopped flowing. The people crossed on dry ground, just as their parents had crossed the Red Sea. It was a divine statement. The God who delivered them would also establish them. City by city, battle by battle, the tribes claimed their inheritance. Joshua led them with courage, but each tribe had to drive out enemies and take possession of their allotted land. Some succeeded, others struggled. But one truth remained. This land was given by God, and each border had been divinely appointed. After the conquest phase, Joshua oversaw the division of the land. Each tribe received a portion. Judah in the south became the largest and most powerful. Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, received fertile land in the center. Reuben, Gad, and half of Manasseh settled east of the Jordan. Levi received no territory, for they were set apart to serve in the tabernacle and lived scattered among the tribes. Each tribe raised its banners, each name carved into the geography of Israel. But peace did not come easily. The Canaanites resisted. Pagan influences remained. And slowly, the people began to forget the one who gave them the land. After Joshua's death, Israel entered a period of instability. Without a centralized king, each tribe governed itself, and without strong leadership, they often drifted. The book of Judges recounts this cycle. Sin, oppression, repentance, deliverance, repeated over and over again. Still, God remained faithful. He raised judges, Deborah, Gideon, Samson, and others, to bring justice and rally the tribes. But unity was fragile. Sometimes the tribes fought together. Other times, they fought each other. The dream of a holy nation was clouded by the reality of human weakness. Yet through all the failures, the land remained, the tribes remained, the covenant remained. Because even when Israel forgot God, God did not forget Israel. This was the age of formation, when the land shaped the people and the people wrestled with their calling. From generation to generation the stories were told. The names of the 12 tribes echoed through valleys and mountains. And though they were flawed, they were chosen. After centuries of wandering, fighting, and surviving, the 12 tribes of Israel longed for something more than judges and fragmented rule. They wanted a king, a human ruler, like the nations around them. Though the prophet Samuel warned them, reminding them that God was their true king, the people insisted. And so God gave them what they asked for. Saul was chosen. From the tribe of Benjamin, he looked the part, Tall, strong, impressive. At first he led with courage. He unified the tribes, led them into battle, and gave Israel a glimpse of national strength. But Saul's heart grew proud, and he disobeyed God's commands. His reign began to crumble, not because of enemies outside, but because of rebellion inside. God rejected Saul and sought a man after his own heart. That man was David, from the tribe of Judah, a shepherd, a warrior, a poet. David's journey from the fields to the throne was marked by faith, patience, and worship. He defeated Goliath with a sling and a stone. He respected Saul even when hunted. And when he finally became king, he united the tribes not by force, but by vision. Jerusalem was established as the capital. The Ark of the Covenant was brought back. Worship became central once again. Under David, the 12 tribes found unity like never before. It wasn't perfect. There were betrayals, wars, and personal failures, but God's hand was upon him. And the covenant deepened. God promised that from David's lineage would come a king whose reign would never end. David's son, Solomon, inherited this kingdom. He was wise, wealthy, and powerful. Under his leadership, the tribes enjoyed peace. The temple was built, a permanent dwelling for God in the heart of Jerusalem. People came from distant lands to hear Solomon's wisdom. It was Israel's golden age. But even Solomon stumbled. He married foreign wives, adopted pagan practices, and his heart drifted. When he died, the unity that David and Solomon had worked for began to unravel. Division came. The 10 northern tribes broke away and formed the kingdom of Israel. The 2 southern tribes, Judah and Benjamin, remained loyal to the house of David, forming the kingdom of Judah. 2 nations, 1 people, torn apart. The northern kingdom quickly fell into idolatry. Kings rose and fell, but none turned the people back to God. Prophets were sent, Elijah, Elisha, Amos, Hosea, calling them to repent. But the people hardened their hearts. Eventually, judgment came. In 722 BC, the Assyrians invaded and conquered the northern kingdom. The 10 tribes were scattered, lost among the nations. Their names would live on, but their presence would fade. They became the lost tribes, a wound in Israel's history that never fully healed. Meanwhile, the southern kingdom of Judah endured longer. Kings like Hezekiah and Josiah brought reform, but idolatry still lingered. Prophet after prophet warned of coming exile. Jeremiah wept. Isaiah saw visions. Ezekiel prophesied in exile. And finally, it happened. In 586 BC, Babylon invaded. Jerusalem was destroyed. The temple burned. The people of Judah were taken into captivity. It seemed like the end. The land was silent, the tribes broken, the promises distant, but the covenant still remained. Because God had said, "I will scatter you, but I will gather you again." And even in exile, prophets began to speak of return, of restoration, and of a coming Messiah, a king not just for Judah, but for all the tribes, a king who would heal what was divided, restore what was lost, and reign with justice forever. The exile was long, 70 years in Babylon. The people of Judah, broken and scattered, lived as strangers in a foreign land. But God had not abandoned them. As the prophets had spoken, so it came to pass. A new empire rose, Persia, and its king Cyrus issued a decree. The people of Israel were free to return home. It was not a triumphant return. Jerusalem lay in ruins. The temple was gone. The walls were broken. The city was silent, a shadow of its former glory. But under leaders like Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah, the people began to rebuild. Stone by stone, prayer by prayer, the covenant was remembered. The altar was restored. The law was read aloud again. The walls were raised not just around the city, but around a faith rekindled by memory and hope. Yet something was missing. The 12 tribes were no longer complete. Only remnants of Judah, Benjamin, and some Levites had returned. The 10 northern tribes, the so-called lost tribes, remained scattered across the nations. Their fate was unclear. Their names still echoed in the scriptures, in prayers, in prophecy. But physically, they were gone. Still, hope endured. The prophets had spoken of a day when all the tribes would be gathered once more, when the nation would be whole again under one shepherd, one king. And so the people waited. Centuries passed. Empires changed. Persia fell to Greece, Greece to Rome. But the hearts of the people longed for the promised Messiah, not just a teacher or prophet, but a king. One who would sit on David's throne, one who would not just restore the land but restore the people, one who would not just gather tribes but heal hearts. And then, quietly, in a small village called Bethlehem, a child was born. From the tribe of Judah, a descendant of David, his name, Yeshua, Jesus. He did not come with armies. He did not raise banners or claim borders. Instead, he healed the sick, fed the hungry, taught with authority, and forgave sins. He walked among the broken, called fishermen his disciples, and welcomed outcasts. He spoke of the kingdom, not of land but of hearts, not of walls but of spirit. And he said something radical, that he had come not just for Judah, but for all the lost sheep of Israel. That in him the promises were being fulfilled. The covenant was being renewed. The tribes would be gathered, not just ethnically, but spiritually. And not only Israel, but all nations would be blessed. He was the king the prophets saw, the shepherd who sought the scattered flock, the high priest who would offer himself, not in the temple built by hands, but on a cross outside Jerusalem. He died, he rose, and with his resurrection, a new covenant was sealed, one that would call people from every tribe, tongue, and nation. And so the story of the 12 tribes lives on, not only in history, but in destiny. Their names are written in stone, their journey shaped a nation, but their true fulfillment is yet to come. Because the final promise is this: one day the king will return, and when he does, the tribes will be gathered, the land will be renewed, the kingdom will come, not in part, but in full, and every banner will rise again.